Hi there, I'm Cherie.
And I'm Chris, and we're known online as Technomadia.
And what you're about to watch is one of our live video chats. This is an archive of a live broadcast that was interactive with some of our viewers.
So this is not a produced thing. We don't use microphones. We don't do editing. We don't have a script in advance. So if you're looking for that, change the channel.
But what we do is every month is we pick a topic, we talk on about it, and we take questions. And it's a really fun way. If you'd like to join one of our future live video chats, you can do so. Go check it out at technomadia.com/video. And also check out the other videos in this playlist. We have a whole bunch of other topics that we've covered over the years.
Yeah,
so who are we?
Chris and Cherie, Technomadia.
And we've been on the road since 2006, traveling full-time via RV, presently in a vintage bus conversion, and we work remotely as we go. And we just like sharing a little slice of our lives. So here we go.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Cherie.
And we are Technomadia.
And we
live in a vintage bus. In case you just happen to stumble across this as your first video, we've got quite a series of video chats. We've got a great blog, all sorts of stuff. So
you have
welcome.
A great blog.
You're
being kind of
she writes
conceited there.
98% of it, so it's actually really great. So,
we do these video chats. It's just a fun way for us to share with you and field a lot of the questions that we get. They're not produced. If you're expecting produced scripted content, find another channel. That's not us.
This is a big, long archive recording. For those who are catching the recording, there's no microphones, there's no fancy lighting, there's no producer, there's no camera angles. It's just us going on. But we've been doing this for a really long time.
And it works.
and we know a lot about this.
So we do these for fun. We do it as a live cast first. So those of you joining us live tonight, thank you for joining us. Those of you joining in on the archive later, today is April 14th at 9 p.m. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that's how you know you're watching the archive.
If it's not April 14th, you're watching an archive.
And you will not be able to interact with us live. It is previously recorded. Tonight's topic is the sucky sides of RVing. And I just want to preface it. This is intentionally negative. We're not normally this negative, Nelly.
No, but no, we've been on the road 10 years now, and there are just too many people doing this lifestyle. It's getting way too... We just came across Florida during spring break. It was hard to get campsites. There's too many people out there having fun on the road, working on the road, living on the road, and we're trying to talk a few of you out of it. So we're going to share the sucky side of RVing, and maybe you'll go away.
More
campground for us, more cellular tower bandwidth for us. Go away. Go live in an office.
Okay, so really the inspiration behind this is Chris just celebrated his 10th Nomadiverary on April 1st. And we thought it would be fun. Obviously, we love this lifestyle and we keep intentionally choosing it. And when any of these sucky sides start to pile on, we just take a break, which is what we do every so often. We'll go do something non-RV for a while and then come back to it. But we're seeing in a lot of groups and forums that people are hitting the road and then they get out there and they stumble into what they're calling unexpected hurdles and then blaming bloggers, YouTubers, and Instagrammers for painting this rosy picture all the time.
We never share the bad stuff. And actually, we've shared a lot of bad stuff. But, the lifestyle is pretty awesome. But we want to give the balance. We want to give some of the negatives tonight. So that's going to be the focus. And we've got a top 10 list. And
we're going to do a negative item for every year on the road that we've had. Now, we had to cheat a little because some of these items are multi-part. But hey, we're going to get there, okay?
Okay.
So, the first sucky part of RVing is society's perceptions of what you're doing.
If you're a full-timer, you will get, particularly if you're not retirement age full-timer, you'll get some people who will be like, you must be a trust fund baby. How'd you manage to afford to do this? And then you'll get other people who are like...
In the same day, you could be called scum of the earth, trailer trash, or a drain on society.
Or people who just think, God, you must be so down on your luck, you can't afford a house. Maybe you'll be able to get a place to live someday.
So the spectrum going out there of that this is either a lifestyle that only the destitute do or only the really rich who are on full-time early retirement vacation can do.
And I think just about every younger full-timer has had both of these extremes kind of pushed at them at some point.
And even retirees encounter this. You may have saved all your life so that you can do this sort of adventure, and you're doing this completely of your own choice. And then you have the media perception out there that's profiling, people, older retirees, people too old to, too old to retire or too young to die or whatever, so they're having to go around working all the time just to afford retirement. And the truth is, there's all walks of life out here on the road, and you'll find someone who's going to fit any stereotype that you like, but most of us are somewhere in between. We're working full time, we are not trust fund babies, and we're able to afford our lifestyle. We work hard to be able to do that, and most of our peers do too. All right, number 2 is the legal ambiguity of this lifestyle.
So like where are we legally from? And particularly as people who work on the road, where are we working? We work online. Where is that?
So there's not a lot of legal precedence for the full-time RVing lifestyle. As far as the population of the U.S. population, we're a small percentage. There's a lot of us, but it is a small percentage.
Particularly those of us who don't have a specific physical home base.
So there's constant things that come up, and it's not necessarily intentional from any organization that they're trying to, deregulate us or anything like that. But stuff constantly comes up that has unintended consequences for us. Just in the last couple of months, we had the state of South Dakota put a proposal up, which is a state that a lot of full-timers domicile at. That's where they pick as their full-time address because there's no state income tax. It's easy to claim it as your residency, and there's mail forwarding services that support it. But there was a motion up to not allow those who don't actually reside in South Dakota most of the year to not be able to vote. Well, that's stripping away a major right. Yeah. Thankfully, it got tabled. Not a concern at this moment, but something to definitely keep an eye on. Then that HUD thing. I mean, how many of you have seen this? HUD's going to make it illegal
to full-time.
Snopes has even debunked this right now.
So before you get freaked out, it's nothing. It's actually like bureaucratic paperwork that's actually probably good for the RV industry and has absolutely no change for full-timers and legal status.
The wording that people are concerned about has been there since 1982.
Yeah, because it defines these vehicles as not for full-time living, for recreational use only, because it's complicated. But that's just kind of, they are recreational vehicles.
It comes on every warning when you buy an RV. Most warranties for RVs don't cover full-time living.
Officially, but
a lot of them do. So, they're not defined for full-time living. So that's one of the things that you come a lot. There's stuff coming up all the time. We definitely recommend keeping an eye on the Escapees RV Club. They have an advocacy arm where they track this sort of stuff. Keep us informed and let us know what we can do to help keep this stuff.
And help us steer through our rights. And a lot of this stuff will just remain undefined, and that's both good and bad. It's not been tested in courts.
Every time we cross state lines, there's different laws that apply to us, like what are the towing limits? What's your length limit on what you can have your total motorhome plus trailer if you're having that? Can you buy beer in the grocery store?
That's true. There's just a lot of legal things that when you're in one place you get really used to that do change a lot, and sometimes that leads to some kind of confusion, some awkward situations, some embarrassment when you're checking out with a grocery cart full of wine and the clerk is giving you
it's Sunday, you can't do that.
You're not from around here, are you? I'm like,
there's Patriot Act concerns. So banks are required to have a residential address on file for every account holder, and sometimes our mail forwarding services that we use for our domicile for our permit get flagged as not. And you need to have a backup address, and you're legally allowed to use the next of kin's address, so a family member or something like that.
But some banks refuse that.
We had a problem with Charles Schwab that would not accept my mother's address unless we could prove utility bills there.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, this is, there's some really, systems are not set up to deal with full-timers. And
the IRS does consider us transient internet travelers. Our tax home base is where you are in your RV if you don't own another house. So the tax laws are different for us. And if you're doing anything and you're not sure of how to follow it, then you probably should have a CPA or a tax attorney involved to help you with that.
But on the other hand, it's because it has not really been tested in courts, you're probably it's all a lot of gray areas, and that's the downside. It's kind of tricky sometimes.
Yeah, and that's also the pro side of it is there's not set legal precedents for a lot of this, and if it comes up, well, that's where we hope that the community can all come together, and groups like the Escapees can help us navigate it. So I think they're worth supporting just for that reason alone, with all their other perks. All right, number 3.
This can be a very expensive lifestyle. The costs vary. This can be a very expensive lifestyle.
It can be a very cheap lifestyle.
Yeah, a lot of people go into this thinking that, they're going to save so much money, they're going to boondock for free, and life is going to be so affordable on the road. And they have that cold reality check of like, oh my God, this is very expensive. Particularly things break. Campgrounds are more expensive than they think. We've had a lot of chats in the past just about how costly this can be, and the converse is how incredibly affordable it's.
Right. So, if you want to do this on the cheap, on a very low budget, it can be done, but it does have some compromises you need to make. Like, you're not going to be staying in RV resorts unless you're camp hosting at them and working out sort of some deal to work at them. The quality of RV that you can afford is probably going to differ from someone who has a larger budget.
Or more flexibility.
The pace that you can keep. I mean, fuel costs money. Fuel prices are great right now. It's a lot cheaper to travel across the country right now. But when fuel prices go up, and if you have a limited budget, you just might need to travel less miles. And then when things break, if you're on a limited budget, you might just need to be resourceful in other ways to find, instead of going to a commercial shop to get things fixed, learning some do-it-yourself techniques, friends who can help you out. There's all ways around it, and there's ways to do it, but you just have to be resourceful in other ways.
We know people who make this lifestyle work on the barest of shoestrings, and we know other people who head off into this and freak out when they're like, this is blowing my budget, my savings are being depleted way faster than I thought, and that is, I guess, one of the bits of it is that sometimes things happen that really are hard to predict in advance. That's going to cost you.
Right. Set out with as much of a cushion as you can to shield yourself from it, so you're not stuck in the predicament of getting, having a breakdown and not being able to fix things and being stuck in a new city and trying to make your way there, or having to call the journey an end. And we know other people that, they set off with a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 a month budget, and they come in under budget every single month and are perfectly happy. So it's a whole range out there, but you really do need to look at what your personal costs are going to be.
We even know people who do it for $500 a month. Yeah.
But the pros of it is this is one of the most flexible lifestyles for cost. You do have control over some of the primary living expenses each month. Rent. We consider that fuel.
Plus campground fees.
And those two, you can control how many miles you go, and you can control what type of camping arrangements you have, from free boondocking to work camping to monthly stays with lower rates. There's a whole range of options how you can balance those factors out.
Yeah, you have more control than you ever would have in a fixed location.
All right, number 4.
Healthcare.
It sucks for everybody.
But it double sucks when you can't be someplace to get established in any fashion.
So number 1, there's insurance. There's very few insurance, it's a requirement now under the ACA. There's very few insurance networks that are truly nationwide where you're not going to be out of network. They're out there. They're PPOs and EPOs. But they're going away. Like last year, Texas lost a bunch of them. South Dakota's lost some of them. Right. Florida still has them. Some other states do. But it is a consideration for those of us of not Medicare age.
It's tricky if you don't have a home base that will be your primary care place. Or it's very tricky to have a primary care physician if you're not going to have a place that you go to physically frequently.
We've struggled for the last few years to get established with a new primary care physician. Every time we try, it's hard to get an appointment. When you get there, you don't click with the doctor, or they don't provide the services that you think they should.
Or they're like, okay, well, let's, this is our first little intro, and now let's have your follow-up in 3 months.
No, I'm leaving tomorrow. I
might be back in 2 years. But no, this does not work for nomads. And so healthcare is a huge gaping hole. And for a lot of those that are younger and healthier, it's not such a big deal, but bad things can happen at any time, and it really would be nice to actually have,
My cat has better health care on the road.
Banfield.
We use Banfield, which is part of the veterinary office that's part of PetSmart. They have central medical records. We pay an annual fee to Banfield that gets her unlimited office visits and discounts on services. And we can go into any Banfield across the country and they can pick up her care.
Just walk right in.
I don't want that.
Yeah, but for humans, it is a pain.
It's gotten better. Telehealth is now pretty standardized, especially for like respiratory infections, UTIs, and things like that. We have a service that we got through RVinsurance.com. It's their Carrington package that includes Teledoc for $149 a year.
Yep. So actually, we just got to use it for the first time the other day. Used the app. Within minutes of pressing a button on the app, I was video chatting a doctor and had a prescription waiting for me at Target. Literally took 4 minutes or so
We both have a low
to
level
get an ear
infection.
to get a prescription for an ear infection, and talk to a doctor.
And for
All
$149 a year, you've got unlimited virtual office visits. So that's great for that sort of stuff. You don't have to go seek out an urgent care clinic, which is another solution on the road. For the routine stuff. Now, that's not going to replace a primary care physician. You're not going to get your routine exams that way.
Physical.
You're not going to get your physical, and if you have a chronic condition, they're not going to be treating that sort of stuff. But it is a great option for the stuff that just comes up in life. Medical sharing programs are out there. If they're grandfathered in under the ACA to still continue on. New ones can't be created, and
but
unfortunately,
those are still pretty tough for people on the road.
they are tough on the road, but it's a shared medical thing. They're usually faith-based, so you do have to, attest to that, and that is an option. It's not real insurance, but it is a way to offset medical costs.
And anyway, this is a huge topic.
We have a whole other video on it.
It's extra complicated for those of us on the road, and it sucks sometimes. When you've got a medical issue, we've had a few of them on the road over the years, and it just sucks to deal with. Double sucks being on the road.
Right. Now, the pro of it, if something big does come up, you have a unique position in your life that other stationary folks don't, is it's really easy for you to move
Go where the specialist is.
to go with you can go find the best doctor for whatever it is you're dealing with, and plop yourself in that city and get the best care.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with just who's available in your town.
Yep, that's the pro of that. Number 5, the RVs themselves.
Well, these are not usually built to be rugged. They go through constant earthquakes, they fall apart, they break, and unlike a fixed house, sometimes with a fixed house things break all the time too, but you can usually kind of cover your eyes, ignore it, put it off to the side for a while. In an RV, something breaks, well, you might be on the side of the road, and that problem is now your most important, most urgent thing to deal with. You can't pretend it doesn't exist until later in the year.
RVs are made for recreational use. They are vehicles. That's what RV is. Recreational vehicle is what RV stands for. Vehicles are depreciating assets.
Yes.
So it's not like going and buying a house where you have decent odds of actually having the value increase. Now, I wasn't so fortunate with my house, but
and we also had an RV go up in value. So we're kind of
we're bad examples. But you need to go into it wise-eyed open. Renting.
Yes.
Did I do it? Wise?
Eyes wide open.
gosh.
Be wise.
Okay.
And just because, and we do see a lot of people who try and buy their dream RV just like they're buying their dream house. And like when you reach out and you really mortgage yourself to the hilt to buy your dream house, well, eventually you could refinance and the payments go down and you've got an asset that maybe you could sell. But when you do that to get your dream RV and you drive it off the lot, we know people then who are trapped. And if they
decide they want something different, or they don't like the lifestyle,
or the mechanical issues start to crop up, and they are really, they're paying a 30-year mortgage on something that is not going to even last that long.
So what you have to look at is when you buy an RV, it's kind of like renting. So except for you're having to put all the cash up front or finance it, but you're not putting money into the equity of the vehicle. You're having to keep the upkeep. So it's kind of like home ownership, that you have to maintain it and you own it, but you're also not investing in equity, or even potential increase in value. So you have to be really good with that, and you need to consider that you're not, like when you buy a house and you need to move somewhere else, you can pretty much know that you're going to get most of your value out of the house, maybe even make some money, and have that to put into whatever's next. With RVs, not necessarily the case.
And then even big RVs, even these 45-foot monsters with 17 slides, are still small compared to a house. And for people who need their space, RVs can be really tough. And certain, in particularly smaller, more typical sized RVs, on certain rainy days, they can feel like you're trapped in a closet.
In ours, we've got a 35-footer with no slides. And there are days where it's like, okay, would you get done in the hallway so I can put away the butter, because he's blocking the fridge.
Yeah, you only have one bathroom. And I mean, for some people, that is kind of a freak out. They're used to houses with 3 or 4 or 5. They've got a bathroom for each bodily function or something. I'm not quite sure. But it can be hard. Mm-hmm. And for people who are used to big spaces, living in an RV sometimes can be maddening.
And they offer little privacy. When you're in a campground and you're tightly packed in, Even if you have good insulation, double paned windows, you've got good stabilizer on there, your neighbors are kind of gonna want to know when the physical activity is taking an uptick. If you know what I mean.
If the RV is rocking, and
Dance Dance Revolution. That's what we're talking about.
You're playing video games or you're playing other games, and it's it can be that lack of privacy can actually be a problem in some places. Now the upside is your house has wheels, and so you can move it.
And you can be where you need to be. You're location independent. I mean, these are trade-offs that you take with an RV, but the benefits of it are pretty amazing.
Yeah, so if you want to get some privacy, go way out in the boonies, and then you could run around your house naked. If you've got a regular house, well, you can't do that. If your neighbors are annoying, you're stuck with them. If you're if your upstairs neighbor, your downstairs neighbor, your next door
plays
neighbors,
drums or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? You're going to nothing. I mean, you're trapped.
You know what? I'm leaving in 2 days. I can deal with it. Next stop, it'll be better.
Yeah, and if it's bad enough in an RV, or you just don't feel comfortable, you're like, I'll walk away from a couple days of paid for camping and go find someplace better, beautiful, more private, more amazing views. You're not stuck with looking out the same thing out your window every day. It can be absolutely amazing. Having a house with wheels is incredible.
All right, sucky number 6. Resource management.
This is the tanks and the stinky stuff and the internets and the...
So when you have a house, apartment, stationary thing, you're pretty much connected to the grid, unless you're one of those off-grid people, which is cool too. But most of us, when we were stationary, we were connected to the grid. We had electricity coming to our house.
Think about it.
Water just flowed. You just paid the bill at the end of the month.
The sewer magically disappeared when you flushed the toilet.
Usually, hopefully.
Yes, and the internet was just there. Always worked. All these utilities. You get so spoiled in fixed life.
Now, when you're in an RV, everything is a resource that you have to manage. They're in tanks, they're in buckets, they're things you have to keep on top of.
There's things you have to dump. And people get freaked out about that whole black tank thing and dealing with the storage. It's not so bad, but every so often, there's the sucky day happens, and it's like, it's really bad. But, then you take a shower, and then you take another shower, and after that, and then it's fine again. So it's...
But yeah, your fresh water, you got to keep on top of the tank levels. You got to dump those tanks. You got to keep the fuel tank filled up, and that costs money. Fuel stations can be a pain to find one that can fit your RV. Propane availability, mix or match as to where you can get it.
Yeah, and when the propane runs out, you're like, having a nice cold shower. No furnace tonight. Bundle up. You don't have those problems with the house, and it can suck sometimes to have these issues.
Power, your power sources is going to vary quite a bit. You might be in a campground that only offers 20 amp service, and you can maybe run your microwave, but you can't run your air conditioner at the same time.
You usually don't have to worry about that in a house of like,
what can I turn on? Can't. Yeah. And sometimes you might have 50 amp and you can run everything. You might be off grid and needing to maximize solar and battery capacity, or running a generator.
Yeah. And if you're off grid, it's like, it's a cloudy day. That means I can't
use a computer.
Watch a movie tonight.
All right, and then of course there's that mobile internet thing.
Watching it, people who live at home, can stream all the video they want. They're used to basically essentially unlimited internet. When you're on the road, it's gotten a lot easier. We've written a whole book on all the tips and tricks to how to make this easy, but it is still requires thought, requires planning, requires gear, requires expensive plans, perhaps.
Yeah, you don't need a book to connect to the internet when you're stationary.
We should come out with the cable internet for dummies or something. Yeah. Here you go.
All right.
Plug in.
But all of these frustrations, you know what that gives you? It gives you a pretty much self-contained home that can go anywhere the road allows you to go, and allows you the amazing experience in the variety of places that you can stay without having to worry about how much you can plug in.
And being good at resource management means you're ready for the zombie apocalypse, so this is a good thing, yeah. All
right. Number 7, lack of continuity.
Where should I go to get my haircut? We're gonna get good sushi. Where's a decent grocery store with vegetables?
I have a toothache. Where's a dentist that can see me today?
Where's a farmer's market that actually has real farmers? All these things, everything you learn when you live in one place, you don't even have to think about this sort of stuff. Whereas on the road, it's you turn to Yelp, you turn to ask your neighbors, you trust serendipity, and you're no continuity in
every
these
time
things.
every time you land in a new location, it's like moving to a new neighborhood, a new town. Well, because you are. The grocery stores that you're used to, you know where you could go and get your favorite cracker or whatever, and now it's in a different aisle or it's in a different section of the grocery store. I'm gluten free. It's like, okay, does this grocery store integrate the gluten free items into the shelves, or do they have their separate section? Or
and each of those things is not a big deal as one-offs, but it does.
It gets old after.
It gets
sometimes.
old, and sometimes it can get really grating. It's just like if you're craving something, and you don't even know where to begin to find it, and it's like, I just feel like going out for ice cream tonight. Or where do I do my laundry?
But the upside of this, exploring new things is part of the joy. It's what keeps life interesting. It's what keeps us on our toes. But we do spend, more of our life navigating the new.
Basics. Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to deal with that in a stationary life. All right. Number 8, work-life balance.
Everybody thinks you're on vacation when you're RVing, and it is hard. But for those
because you want to be on vacation.
You want to be treating it like vacation. Like, I'm in this new place. There's something cool. I want to go do it. I want to do this and I want to do that. And you've also got work to do. And it is a lot harder to maintain work-life balance when you're living an RVing lifestyle than it is when you have a work-life balance built into your weekly routine of 5 days in a row, you go to work at this time, you come home at this time, 2 days you hang out at home, do your weekend things, and maybe do a vacation twice a year. You don't
get into routines on the road necessarily. There's constant new distractions. You're meeting people on the road all the time. You want to spend time with them, you want to go out hiking, and it's sometimes really difficult to strike that balance between embracing these places you're going to and getting the work done that you need to afford to go to these places you're going to.
And then you've got this, like, trying to balance this work and life when you're all doing your work and your life in the same small little box. And that gets extra challenging because it's really hard to separate things when you physically can't separate them.
All right. Number 9, community and maintaining friendships on the road. This is one of the most difficult ones, and I think is the thing. Never in my life have I both felt socially overloaded and lonely at the same time.
Particularly in the recent years, there's a great community of other nomads that we've just bonded with all over the country. And that is wonderful, amazing magic, but the downside is that it's all over the country and our dearest, bestest friends are thousands of miles away right now. Or this way and that way, and we don't know when we'll see them again.
Now, we get used to the until next time, because there will be a next time, but it could be years away. And it's really difficult when you're apart to have a more than Facebook level of connection with them, because you're all off doing amazing things, you're living your life, and it's hard to check in and do the deeper check-ins. You might be sharing the deeper stuff with whoever is the person you're spending time with now, whoever the deep connection is. And especially for us introverts, who the deep connection is where it's at, it's also hard to keep forging new friendships all the time.
And I guess one of the things that really sucks about living on the road is having that same intro conversation over and over and over again, where you've had to introduce yourself, tell your basic story, and start from scratch with so many different people, and then by the time you're ready to get deeper, it's time to move on. And then you're doing that same bit.
Next stop,
it makes you feel so tempted just to start inventing things of like, I'm a Russian cosmonaut, I crashed here, I hijacked this. Get creative just because you're tired of like, here's a script, read this handout. It's great because we love meeting new people. That is one of the ultimate highlights of life on the road. But sometimes it's hard, the continuity and just that being stuck always in that first stage.
Yeah. So please don't let that hesitate from inviting us over if we're in your area. We do really want to meet you.
Best part. We love it.
We do love it. Just read the blog first to get the basics, and let's get to the deeper stuff quicker.
Yeah, and let us talk about you too.
Yeah, we want to get to know
that's
you.
Separate from, semi-famous like us, everyone wants to hear about us, and like, no, we want to hear about you sometimes.
All right. But the pro of it is there's amazing people on the road to connect with. They are our people. There's people across the country we meet with, whether or not they have nomadic aspirations.
Yeah.
Our community is diverse, abundant.
The diversity of it is what I really love.
Yes.
Is in this RVing lifestyle, there's so many different types of people from different backgrounds, different ages. And once you get over that hump and get over that basic where are you from, you can meet some of the most amazing people. And when you're living in one small little bubble, you find just the same people over and over again. People often very like you, who have the same background as you, cheer for the same sports teams as you, or go to the same work as you. Living on the road, you get so much incredible diversity of people.
And there just are days that I miss not having the same people to reconnect with and not having to go through that initial ramp up. So, yeah, there are days that we do want to immerse ourselves in one community. All right, we're getting to number 10. This one's going to be a long one. After this one, we will be taking questions. If you've asked any questions up until this point, I haven't even looked at it. I am not going to see them. So let's not queue up the questions until we start to get to the end of this portion, and then we'll start answering the questions for you. And just as a reminder, at this point, please try to keep, I don't even know what's going on in that chat room right now, but if you could just kind of minimize the chatter going on, it'll make it a lot easier for us to get to the questions and answer those for you guys. All right, number 10.
Living in an RV park.
In campgrounds.
And a campground and trailer trash life. And it's, sometimes the reasons people look down on living down by the side of the river and the trailer park or all that stuff, there's good reasons for that.
So first one is the logistics of the availability and the amenities offered at campgrounds and RV parks vary so much, from how you make a reservation to the cost to the amount of space they have between them to are they in nature, in cities, and how much deposit you have to put up
and
front.
A lot of times you're rolling the dice. Even if you do research, check reviews, checking with your friends, you're completely rolling the dice. You don't really know what you're going to get into until you pull in. And sometimes it's heaven on earth, and other times you're like, thankfully my house has wheels, I'm out of here tomorrow.
And, arriving sometimes can be difficult. Not all campgrounds go to the effort to make sure that these larger RVs can easily get into the spots.
We just the other day almost had a meltdown at Fort DeSoto. The park almost got burned down. When
Not quite that bad.
We almost left with a tirade behind us because the park expected, big, giant, 50-foot long site, but it required a 20-foot length to turn. Physically impossible for us to get into the
Not
spots.
physically impossible. It would have required far more effort to get into it for the 2 nights we were going to be there.
It would have required,
and it wasn't even a great site.
So yeah, sometimes you just get so ticked off. You're like, seriously? And then you scrape or you back into something, and you don't have these hassles that in regular life. You don't have to worry about
How are you going to
parking
get
your house.
Parking your house. Spaces can be close together in some locations and not give you the privacy that you might desire. And whatever your pet peeve is, I can guarantee you will park right next to it at some point. This is just an example of the things that we've endured in the last week.
All night long. Don't leave your dog at home, please. Don't leave your dog at home.
If it's not acclimated to
if you don't know if your dog can do this, it's yes, and being woken up to it at 6 a.m. with we have our cat wakes us up for that, but no, the kids riding bicycles back and forth in a 7 feet space right in front of your spot on gravel.
Pulling in and finding out that your neighbors are a big family reunion coming together. Hey, these are all awesome things. We don't discount families. We love dogs. Yeah. We love families having reunions. I just don't necessarily want them on my front porch.
Right. Being parked right next door to a smoker's porch can be really miserable for some people.
Perfectly wonderful weather. It's open windows, and you want to have your windows open overnight and enjoy the fresh air, but your neighbor's running a loud AC.
A lot of RV air conditioners are atrociously loud. I wish the industry paid much more attention to this, not just for the sound inside, but the sound going to your neighbors. And yes, it could. We've heard of fistfights being caused over this by loud.
Not by us.
Not by us. No, we've read about this online from other people.
Or it never fails. That day you have a conference call or a video cast. That's when the campground's doing lawn maintenance. Guess why we do these video chats at late night?
Yes.
We learned our lesson on that one.
And or in the afternoon, you've got somebody who's just down from you who actually the other day was Italian polka music.
Well, they love to dine outdoor. They played very loud Italian polka music. not quiet hours. They have every right to.
Yeah, and mostly campgrounds are, they're people go here for vacation, for a lot of them, for a reason. They're amazing, they're heaven on earth, they're incredible, they're nature, but you have to be prepared for some of these.
And there's constant motion in a campground. These are transient neighborhoods. Just as you arrive and leave, so are all other 200 campers in the neighborhood. That means there's lots of motion of motorhomes starting up, diesel trucks starting up to hitch up to their trailers, people packing up, unpacking. It's not necessarily this tranquil image you might get in your mind
Sometimes
from
it is.
Instagram. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, but some days there's people who just aren't particularly considerate, or who I haven't really thought it through, who do things like they'll start up their diesel truck and they'll let it idle for 2 hours while they pack up the rest of their RV, and that's like right 20 feet away from your door while you're trying to work, trying to sleep, trying to read. Trailer park life, RV park life, campground life has a lot of downsides sometimes. Sometimes it can be maddening.
All right. We are to the question and answer portion.
Does that also mean it's time for me to open the wine?
Yes, that means we're going to open the wine. So while he's opening the wine...
What's the wine tonight?
Yes, tonight's wine is Beckard's Vineyard. This is a hill country wine that we were turned on to by our friends Fred and Crystal, who live in the area. And they were our...
area of Texas Hill Country.
Texas.
Well, yeah, not everybody knows that Hill Country is Texas. So.
I said that. And they were our hot air balloon pilots at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta that we crewed for. So they got us turned on to this wine. We bought a few bottles before we left Texas that was just a couple weeks ago. It is really good. We're doing their craft tonight. All right, so go ahead and queue up your questions. I'm going to try to scroll back through and see if there's any that are pending for us. I saw one that was on the asking about what the teledoc solution which was the call a doctor on your phone, and that is teledoc, TELADOC, and it's part of the RV. You can find the plan on RVinsurance.com.
Yeah, you can also get it straight from Teledoc too.
You can get it straight from Teledoc as well, but the Carrington package also has some vision and dental discounts as well.
So as you see, RVing life really, really sucks. Technically we're probably breaking a rule right now, having alcohol inside a state park.
No, it's good in Florida. They sell it in the state parks.
Oh, good, fine. Then, Other places, you feel like a scofflaw.
So, cheers to you. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoy these chats, so like I said, these are our gift. This is a gift of our time, effort, and bandwidth. We love your thanks. Please never hesitate to say thank you in comments. And if you want to take it further, we do have a leave a tip button at the bottom of every page at technomadia.com where you can gift us
some wine.
A virtual bottle of wine.
We thoroughly appreciate it. We do a little happy dance sometimes.
Yes, we do. And special thanks to Sonia and David who pre-sent their bottle of wine this evening, which always gets us in a happy mood first. That always just helps so much to knows we're appreciated coming into this. All right. Okay, I'm going to scroll back here. How's Kiki?
345
Yes,
people?
yeah, 345 people.
Hi, people.
Kiki's doing well. We're in Florida where she can eat lizards nonstop, so she's kind of overstuffed herself. So she's napping right now. She has
been the happiest cat in the Florida state parks. Oh my God, their lizards these places are infested with lizards, and she is doing her best. Yes, it's really good wine.
All right. Jane asked, how do you decide where to go next? And if your question was before this one, just ask it again, and we'll get up to it when it comes in.
Didn't we just do a planning that was last month's video?
Actually, yes. If you're interested in the in-depth conversation on that, was last month's topic, planning a day's drive. And
planning where to go next, yeah.
Yep. And a lot of it is just based upon whim. People we want to see, events we want to go to, following the weather, where there's availability at campgrounds we want to stay at.
Yeah. It totally varies by time of year, personality type. I like the idea of starting a day not knowing where I'm going to end it. Cherie likes to have things booked in advance, and we kind of come to compromises there sometimes. But yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I am planning to do a blog post version of this video chat that we just went through. I totally forgot to mention at the beginning. But there will be early week on the blog. There will be a recap of all 10 of those points that we made with links to articles that go further into each of those topics that we posted on before. So that will be up early next week. All right. All right. Brenda asks, is there any particular personality type that you found does not do well on the road long term? So by personality type, you're talking Myers-Briggs or just in general personality characteristics. I think those with high stress or anxiety who
don't like change or difference.
Or aren't willing to push those buttons.
Right. I mean, you have to be comfortable. The more comfortable you are with the unexpected, with uncertainty, if you can have your engine blow up and you can laugh about it, and just like, okay, hey, here's another pothole. What new adventure is here, as opposed to the world is ending. That the where everybody's going to experience both sides of that at once. Usually, when something bad happens, but the more you can be on this is just a new twist in the road versus this is the end. This is horrible. This is the last day of the trip. The better you're going to be able to survive.
Over planners sometimes will find this stressful because stuff happens on the road, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. I mean, reservations work in your favor. Yeah. I mean, there's places that we don't get into because we don't like to make reservations too far in advance.
And we know over planners who do this very successfully. They've actually planned their
2 years in
trips
advance.
2 years in advance. They know every spot they're going to stay 2 years in advance.
All right. Brenda asked, she noticed that there used to be an installed stovetop in our bus that doesn't appear there anymore. What happened to it and why did you remove it? So the short story is when we first bought our bus, the propane systems were very unsafe. So we removed all of the propane appliances and went all electric initially. And we use an induction stove hob for all of our stovetop cooking. We prefer to have the counter space for that.
So this way we pull out the stovetop when we need it, we put it away when we don't, and we have appliances of whatever we need.
So where the old oven was is where we keep our Instant Pot, where we keep our induction hob, our pots
rice
and
cooker,
pans,
yeah.
rice cooker, and smoothie makers.
Yes.
Okay. Is there... Okay, so Vicky asked, could we post links to sites to RV cheap? In January, we did an entire video chat on free and cheap
RV
camping.
living,
We did a whole overview of the options out there, so I recommend going back and looking at that. There is also an accompanying article on the blog. If you go look for free and cheap RV camping in about the January time frame, you'll find a full episode on that.
It can be done very, very cheaply.
Right. Okay, so these things are...
Pests, mice, and... So Beverly asks, what about pests, mice, and other unwanted guests? I think they're actually wanted by our cat. We don't have mice. We actually do have a few pesky ants that just seem to have boarded us. But it's just those life on the road. Yeah, life in general. If you live in a place like that, you deal with them. It's they've never been a major problem. I think Kiki wishes we had more mice. So
Brenda asked, any plans in the works for other nomadic travels by boat, abroad, etc.? Yes. Definitely. The cat right now is one of our biggest concerns. Working is still a concern, and being close to family is still a concern. But we have looked into sailing full time. Obviously, you already saw our announcement that we're going to be moving into the first airship RV.
Yeah, a flying RV. We're working on that. If you haven't seen that, check back to our post on April 1st, on my 10th Nomadiverary. We announced some of our plans for airship life.
Okay. Rika, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. What is the best day to drive into an RV park to avoid crowds? I like midweek for campgrounds where mainly a lot of weekenders come in. We like arriving on a Sunday and staying there through Thursday. That usually tends to work pretty well because then those in the campground tend to be other full-timers. And then the weekend crowds come in, which tend to have more, vacationers. But that tends to work pretty well for us. Brian asks, what's your thoughts on the roadworthiness of a 15 to 20-year-old Newmar Dutch Star? We are not RV experts. We do not know all brands. We are not in the industry.
But Newmar is one of the better brands. And one of the general tips, not specific to that, is the top end RVs after they're about 20 years old are some of the best overall values in an RV, just because they're hard to finance and they were built really, really well. So buy something that was the top of the line, $1 million coach 20 years after it was new.
Okay. Trying to find the questions in here. Let's get on here too. All right, Carrie asks, what is your biggest challenge when you first got on the road?
Community was one of the biggest. Is, you know, we 10 years ago it felt like we were the only ones who were doing this as young full-timers, and we were kind of especially crazy because we were in a super small rig, and there was no online communities to connect with other like minds and stuff. So that was really hard in the beginning, and connectivity was a lot harder 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a lot harder, and I had a mission critical job that I had to be available
On
8
call.
to 5 Monday through Friday, or else people died, sort of thing.
So there are a lot of challenges that both social life and work life that we had going into this 10 years ago that are now really not issues, which is great. Mm-hmm. It's really a lot easier now.
All right. Laura asks, do we have an extended warranty on the bus, and do we have a roadside assistance plan? Okay, I have talked to some of the extended warranty companies. We actually had one of them contact us and want us to cover them, and we always respond back with, is we do not talk about anything that we don't personally love and use ourselves.
Yes. Well, you sell us an extended warranty
I said,
for a 55-year-old bus.
If you will sell us an extended warranty for a 55-year-old bus, we would be very interested, because we've always been told, no, it's not possible. So no, our extended warranty is our credit card and
our own handiness.
And our own handiness and being able to deal with what comes up. We have had lots of breakdowns. We have had to rebuild our engine on the road, which means we do keep an emergency roadside service, and we use CoachNet.
We would actually, I would not own an RV in general without something like CoachNet, just because when something breaks on an RV, the tow can be astronomical. And having something that we like CoachNet, where you don't have to worry about that cost, is wonderful. So CoachNet, amazing. There's a few other similar services, but CoachNet has come through for us several times.
3, 4, 5 times now. Yeah.
CoachNet, wonderful. But as far as a warranty on the RV itself, if you ever find somebody who'll warranty a home conversion 55-year-old bus,
let us know. We're in.
But yeah, it's our handiness, and we know every system inside and out, so we just take it apart.
Michael asks, can you find long-term off-grid parking places that are free? Okay, so you threw in the free caveat. So most of the federal places where you can stay, National Forest, BLM, things like that, have a 14-day stay limit. A lot of the state-level ones do as well. That seems to be pretty norm.
Slab City is kind of the exception. You could basically, that is the long-term freest place on earth. Go to Slab City, California.
There's also a network of BLM lands called long-term visitor areas. You'll see it abbreviated as LTVA, and you pay a permit of, I think it's like $160 or $180 for 6 months. That gives you access to stay on any of those lands, and they're mainly in Arizona and Southern California. And you can move amongst those as often as you like, or stay in them as long as you like. And a lot of them also offer water and dump stations at them.
That's what you're paying for.
So it's not free, but it's pretty darn cheap.
And there are other places that might technically have 14-day limits, but are locally unenforced. And then be respectful.
There are the occasional places that have a 30-day limit, like Anza Borrego down in Borrego Springs, California. It used to be unlimited, and the state park there moved it to 30 days. You can probably find others like that. You'll have to use sites like freecampsites.net and Campendium and find the gems.
And usually we know that you just about every 2 weeks you have to move anyway, just to deal with dumping your tanks and everything like that. So the 2-week limits actually is not a big deal, because then you just relocate to the next one down. You've got a new view, new things, empty tanks, and you're still living for free and no cost whatsoever. So it can be done.
So Michelle asks, is it hard to find medical on the road? And that was number 5, I think, in our list. Yes, it is very hard.
It is a pain.
Yeah, especially if we're considering a concierge level kind of premium service right now to see if we can't get around it. But we'll see. Yeah. We will see. Laura asks, what is your favorite way to cook? In the kitchen or outside or on a stove?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah.
We grilled for lunch today. Last night we went out. The night before we cooked on the stove.
Yeah.
The other night we did Instapot. We mix it up. We don't really do favorites.
The variety. That's part of one of the best things about life on the road. It's all about variety, and we do that same thing in the kitchen.
Okay. Mark asked, did we get the high propane usage resolved in our Our precision, we did bring back propane. We just talked about how we took it away initially. We did bring back propane when we put in our hydronic system. We have a precision temp, and it has been using more propane than expected.
When it is in winter mode, so it means when the heating loop is engaged, the precision temp has been using way more propane than it should. We've got some ideas on what that is. We have not completely solved that, but now we're not needing the heating loop engaged, and so when the precision temp's in just summer mode, only providing hot water,
fine.
It is doing absolutely fine. We've been on the same propane tank for a month and a half now, so we're doing awesome.
Okay, Cindy asked, what about the boring stuff like haircuts, dental appointments? That was the lack of continuity section in the in the session we just talked about. Yes, that is an issue. Andrew asks, please give your thoughts on GPS thinking of farming 6. Oh, I think this is the Garmin.
Garmin, I think it's meant to be Garmin.
We have the 660.
660, it is the I haven't tried every single GPS out there. Most of the standalone GPSs in the past I've been very disappointed with. They have really clunky UIs that seem like a decade out of date. This Garmin 660 we got last summer is actually got a decent processor, decent touch response, is a really nice experience, and the screen's very daylight readable, and it is the first standalone GPS I've actually been impressed with. So
I think we're going to do a video and post review of it when we have time.
Yeah. Yes.
Every time we set out to do some video work and do some video reviews, we get a rainy day or loud campground neighbors or something that makes filming just not optimal.
Bad side of RVing sometimes.
Let's see. Connie asks, would I do this lifestyle if it was only by myself? That's hard to say.
Good question.
That's hard to say. There's too many hypotheticals in there. I'm not good at hypotheticals. I like to deal with reality. I hate driving. I can't see me enjoying the driving aspect of this for very long.
Yeah, whereas I love driving, so, I was doing this before I knew Cherie, so
I would probably switch to, living places longer term so I could immerse myself in community and move around.
You might be an Airbnb hopper. She's a nomadic soul, but is not necessarily a driving vehicle person.
Yeah, I don't know that I would choose RVing if it was just me. Just because I'm not
a driver.
I'm not a driver. I hate driving. I hate driving the Mini. So, I mean, I can drive.
Yes, she's a very good driver. It's just...
and I can drive the bus. I just hate it. Okay. Shri asked, do you make reservations ahead of time or do you take your chances? We play that by ear.
It's like we've been in Florida in kind of springtime and spring break time. We made a lot of reservations. It's turned out most of the places we've been, we would have been just fine without reservations, but some of them absolutely made all the difference in the world to have a reservation. So,
yeah, we play by ear. I usually, when we're looking at our next stop, I'll look ahead at our choices and what our preferences are, and I'll see, are they looking booked up or are they looking wide open? Mm-hmm. And we make a decision based upon that information. So Vicky asks, how do you locate a vet for Kiki? And like we mentioned in the chat earlier, it was she's got a membership at Banfield, which is the vet clinics inside PetSmart, so she can go to any PetSmart Banfield location.
We've tried to sign up as monkeys and they won't take us. But oh man, I wish that was for humans.
Scrolling all over the place. The Texas Nomads asks, how about talking about the diesel repair costs on the road, say per hour, etc. Most shop costs we've found, whether you're in an RV repair place having your refrigerator installed or having your diesel engine fixed or your gas engine fixed, they seem to range from $95 to $130 an hour.
We've seen them as low as $55 and up to
one of our favorite two-stroke diesel mechanics in Chattanooga, they charge $65 an hour. If we have the opportunity to go that way, and they love because they let us in the pit with them.
They specialize in buses, and so
so we go there. We ride out of our way to do a lot of our maintenance there. But yeah, your costs are going to be high on it, and a diesel engine. We have an older one. We have a two-stroke. We can't convey this to what a modern diesel engine would cost.
We need special mechanics and/or we're special. Old bus.
Okay. Seeing repeat questions a lot in here, guys. It's okay. If we answered your question, please don't ask it again. And please, if you can keep the chatter to a minimum, it'll make it so much easier for me to find the questions.
Does doing laundry suck on the road? laundromats are super simple, easy. We load up stuff. We can do 3 weeks worth of laundry and be done in an hour. It's actually I prefer doing laundry on the road than when we have access to a fixed house, because then doing laundry takes all day. It's really easy. You find a nice laundromat, you're in and you're out, and you're done. Do 4 loads at once.
Yep. We like it. A lot of people prefer having a laundry, washer and dryer on their rig. They don't like the public facilities. If we were on full hookups all the time, and that's what we're prioritizing for, I can't say that I wouldn't like it different.
Yeah, but they're such small RV.
But we much prefer the flexibility of not having to plan around full hookups.
And also we have enough clothes on board and stuff that we can go a full basically 3 weeks if we need to between doing laundry, and then we just do a mountain of laundry all at once, and that makes it really hardly a chore.
Okay, repeat question. Steve asked, do we stay at rest stops much? Usually just for lunch breaks. We don't stay overnight in them very often, mostly because we've gotten into a habit of we like to have a long driving day and then go someplace and be there for 3 or 4 nights at a time.
Right. We have certainly done rest stops, though.
Right.
Never hesitate if you need to rest. Use it. But they're often loud, and usually a Walmart might be a more tranquil place. If we're just doing it overnight, we can do a Walmart. There's usually a restaurant within walking distance to get a little shopping done, pick up a red box, watch a movie, and then it's a quiet parking lot for the night. So usually Walmarts are better than rest stops for us.
So there's a suggestion that we do a cooking video of our favorite foods.
I think that'd be fun, actually.
Really? I'm not a cook.
You
You're not a cook.
You are an amazing cook.
I don't want to share it with people.
She doesn't like to admit it, but she's an amazing cook, and I think it'd be. I think we did the guacamole one once. That was one of our older videos, as we did making guacamole.
Maybe we'll see.
Maybe. I think it'd be fun.
I don't know. But I'm just too afraid of people critiquing my techniques. I don't consider myself a chef, and there's a lot of haters out there on the internet.
It's true. That's very true.
So Richard asks, what do you think the ratio is of good versus bad experiences in campgrounds?
Mostly really
Mostly good. I mean,
yeah.
we talk about the sucky sides of RVing, the campgrounds, everything else. Obviously, for 10 years, we keep choosing this lifestyle. We keep going back to campgrounds. We even go back to our least favorite campgrounds.
Yeah, and also just, you have this ultimate, ripcord, parachute, escape mechanism is that your house has wheels. So something's not right. This campground is horrible. You've got awful neighbors. They're probably transient as well, so they might be gone the next day. We often see that as like, are they packing up? It's going to be tranquil tomorrow. Or it's like, okay, they're clearly here for the long haul. They're, playing their hillbilly music and they're having a hoedown. Well, maybe we're going to leave. Our house has wheels. It's so flexible in this lifestyle.
All right, next question from Cherie is, we have 2 cats that will be traveling with us. What should we do to train them, and what about wandering loose in an RV campground? First step, get them used to a harness. Most campgrounds have a leash rule that will require even cats be on leashes. When we first got Kiki, she was only 7 weeks old. I'm sorry, I should rephrase that. When Kiki first adopted us.
Yes, she owns us, absolutely.
Is we put her in a harness and got her used to it from day one, and she only goes outside when she's on a leash. When you're in new campgrounds, new environments, you know your cat's best, but we have heard so many sad stories of people who let their cats free wander in campgrounds, and when it came time for them to leave, their cats were nowhere to be found. They either got lost, they got distracted by something, or they got attacked by something that's, you're not aware of what's out in the woods.
It's always a new environment for your cat, and cats are very distraction prone. There's something to chase, and then they're lost, and then something's chasing them. So we only keep Kiki on a leash. We recommend that for cat owners. Or little outdoor cat pens, something sealed. Our friends we just camped with had a playpen for their cat. Sealed top, bottom, a fun little playpen so their cat can hang out outside with them.
Don't let your cats run loose. That's just
asking for trouble.
Yep. All right. Mike asks, so gallivanting gals. How much are you using Our Village, and have you been happy with the growth of the user base? So Our Village is the social network for RVers. You check into your campground, you can see who else is checked in around you, meet up with people, track your friends as they're traveling. It's a really cool we were involved in the launch of it back 2 years ago. Very proud of it.
We just in the last campground we're at, we actually met people on Our Village who were there, and got and we run across lots of people who are making great connections. We are not involved in the day-to-day running or anything of our village anymore. We are still great friends with Curtis, who is the founder. We help him and advise him on occasion, but we don't know if the growth is where he wants it to be or is not, or we're not involved in the day-to-day, but we find it a really useful tool. That's why we got involved.
Right. We still check in daily, every stop. And, we run our group there, so, we cross-post stuff there.
We've met lots of really interesting people thanks to our village.
And hopefully it gets, grows, keeps growing and keeps going. So, Mike asks, we're young full-timers and working full-time. How many people like you have we met like yourselves? Tons.
Lots. Particularly the last few years.
If you're working age and you're not meeting people on the road, you need to get involved in the community, and you want to be. I'm saying, join Escapers. That's the Escapees new group that's targeted at the working age RVer. They have convergences all over the country. That's a great entryway.
There's going to be a good convergence happening in Vermont in July.
And there's going to be Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta in October.
Yeah.
Get on Instagram and learn how to use it and connect. There's a vibrant community on Instagram.
Once you start connecting, then you start meeting these people in more and more places. And, once you meet one person, it's domino effect leads to the other. We know how hard it can be to get started, to find your peers. But once you do, it's awesome.
Okay. So AJ asks, what percentage of our monthly budget do we apply to emergency repairs? We fix emergencies when they happen. I can't say there's a percentage.
We do keep a nice cushion set aside that, we can handle almost any emergency that were to happen, but we don't have a set budget line item for it. We deal with them as they come. Okay. And just apologies if there's background noise right now. It has started to rain outside, so our apologies if that is interfering at all with the audio.
All right. Val asked, how do you avoid alligators in those Florida area parks?
We saw some today.
They're awesome. They're beautiful. I mean, don't take small animals or small kids, but stay away. If you're afraid of them, just stay away from water areas. I mean, they don't tend to go.
They're not going to chase you. They're not going to be on land. Pay attention to the signs.
I've lived in Florida a good deal of my life,
and hardly anybody she knows got eaten by an alligator.
Yeah, I had one guy. He did. All right. Brian asks, is an Instapot better than a Vitapot? I've never used a Vitapot.
I've never heard of a Vitapot,
really
but we like our Instapot. It's been really fun.
What is... Frida asks, how do you play SWTOR online? I don't even know what that is.
SWTOR, Star Wars, the something Rebellion, I think is.
I don't play games. So.
But there are a lot. We actually have a chapter in a book for online gaming and stuff. There are people who manage to do online gaming, even social gaming and multiplayer gaming on the road. It's hard, but it can be done.
Vicky asks, if you don't have a towed, which is a towed behind vehicle, what are recommended alternatives? So go back on the blog and search for tow. And we actually did an article because we went towed free for the first 6 months we had our bus. Mm-hmm. And we did a whole article on how we got around without having any extra wheels but the bus. So things like borrowing cars, doing $9.99 rentals from Enterprise on weekends, just planning our stops that way.
It can be done. You just have to put a little extra thought into it.
Liz asks, how easy is it to pick up volunteer work on the road? Depends upon what your interest in volunteering is. I mean, some volunteer organizations want background checks, want you involved in the community. Yeah. But there's lots of volunteers, from volunteering in state parks,
is it cool
animal
jobs,
to shelter. There's coolworks.com, there's workcampers.com. Most state park systems have a way to volunteer in the park system and stay in the park in exchange.
If you're willing to do the legwork in advance to do all the pre-work, you can find volunteer work anywhere you go. We know a lot of people who do that.
Jim asks, how many miles do we usually try to drive in a day?
I like the 40-mile drive days. That's been nice.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to keep a 200-mile limit. We break it too often, but 200 miles is kind of pushing it for a day. That's a lot.
Okay, how is our solar working out? I mean, it worked out great this past winter and the winter before. Love it. We're probably going to be on hookups quite a bit this summer just because we're on the East Coast.
Yep.
Brian asks, they have 3 mini dash hounds. Would that many be frowned upon by most parks? There are some parks that have a 2-pet limit. You'll need to research when you're looking at
Yeah.
the park if they have limits. But we've seen people traveling and making it work with
quite a few
3,
people
4,
do 3 or
5
4,
dogs.
yeah.
So,
And 2 dachshunds is equal to 1 regular dog. I think there's like dog math, and some RV parks might go for that.
Mark asks, how long does it typically take to dump the gray and black tanks? Do you both do it together?
No, you usually dump the black tank first.
No, I think we both do it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, yeah, because it usually it's.
we both
It's not
do
a
the
big
job.
deal.
Dumping tanks is not a big deal. It is. It only takes if we want to flush the tanks, we might spend 10 or 15 minutes doing it, or an hour if we're full hookups and stuff. But usually, if we're just in and out, we can be done in 10 minutes, 5 minutes. We've got a 3-inch drain. We have huge tanks. Gone. Yeah, it's simple. Chat for the moment. I hope you guys really appreciated this. And if so, let us know, just by words or bottles of wine. That'd be great.
Yes.
And or see you in the after party.
Yes. Please do leave comments on the Facebook post, on the archive of this when we get it up. We will get this up on YouTube soon. And yes, those contributions. It takes several hours for us to put one of these together. Not just the time we're spending with you here. There's time to get this prepped, get it announced, get everything set up.
And then do the video work to save the archive.
We're going to spend 3 or 4, 5 hours after this to get this all set to go into an archive so that people can enjoy it later. If you enjoy the thanks go a long way. That really does. But the thanks by virtual wine and dinners go an extra mile and really keep us inspired to come back next month and do it again. So if this stuff has helped you learn, inspire you, be more prepared for your own lifestyle, then we really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
So.
And if you have critiques of, like, you think the lights are too bright, or the audio is too bad, or the outfits are too wrinkled, or anything like that,
Just keep it to yourself. We don't care.
We don't. This is not the place for that. And see you out there, and or see you in after party time after we have our breather.
Yes, we're going to get the air conditioner running and cool down. The rain just came through. It has gotten ridiculously
It is super
humid
muggy here.
I'm sweating.
And we have to turn off the fans when we do video chats.
Yes, we can't have air conditioner fans going to do
background
these.
noise. So we're going to cool off and drink up, and we will see you in a bit. If you hang around, if not, we'll see you next time.
All right, see you in a little bit.